So, I've been tracking Winter Storm Quinn, the one that's to impact the city tomorrow. Well, tonight and tomorrow. However, I've noticed a trend in the short model runs, the high resolution models, that I don't like. And that is that the storm is shifting further and further east, or the precipitation is. However, for Eastern Mass and Long Island, it's actually showing greater amounts, but it's showing less amounts for the city. In fact, the difference in just 50 miles between central Long Island and New York City, an inch of difference in QPF. That's a whole inch. That's a foot of snow almost. Between New York City and central Long Island. Like between Islip and New York City, which is about an hour, 20-minute drive with no traffic, has like an inch difference in QPF. New York City has like 0.3 inches, and central Long Island, where Islip is, has about an inch, 0.2. That's like 1.2 inches versus 0.3. That's almost an inch difference. That is so huge. It's with some of the models. That is just unbelievable. It's like getting flooded with rain in Long Island while New York City's just getting maybe a light shower. That's how huge the difference is. But in terms of snowfall, it's even crazier. That's like getting dumped with a foot of snow on Long Island, just getting a couple inches in New York City. I mean, I've seen where it's even crazier. I've seen where Long Island gets like 2 feet, and New York City only gets like 5 or 6 inches. I've seen that happen, and I'm always jealous when that happens. I guess tomorrow is going to be one of those times where I'm jealous again. Yeah. And just recently, just last week, it was crazy. It was last Friday, actually. It was the previous Friday when a big nor'easter hit. This nor'easter was insane. There were gusts of 50, 60 miles an hour. Trees were down all over the place, blocking many roads. We had to take detours all over the place because of fallen trees. And here's the even crazier part. I was in Staples working in Regal Park, where just a little bit of snow came down. No accumulation that whatsoever. The cars were still wet. The ground was wet. Even the grass was mostly wet. And then, after work, I went to my mom's neighborhood in Hollis Hills, a 10-minute drive, and guess what? There's snow all over the place. There was at least an inch of snow in the cars, so I was jealous again. And then I was here in Regal Park, living here now, for the last storm, the one that we were supposed to get at least like 8 inches of snow. They said 6 to 8 locally higher amounts. You know how much I got in Regal Park? 3 freaking inches. Why? Because a freaking dry slot came in, and it didn't allow the snow to linger. My mom's neighborhood got about 6 inches. We got half the amount here that my mom got in Hollis Hills. So it looks like, again, third time in a row that I'm going to get less because I'm going to be here. And the further east you are, you get more. This is really unfair, you know. Every time there's more snow where I am. There's more snow than where I am. You know, every time this has happened to me. When I was in Boston, there was a time 5 years ago when I was in Boston and all the snows happened in New York City. And that same year, Boston got more snow when I was in New York. Both New York City and Boston each got about 30 inches more than I did. Boston got about 60 inches. New York City got about 60 something as well. And I personally, myself, I got about 30 inches because I was different places when the storms were occurring. I was in New York when the bigger storm was in Boston, and I was in Boston when all the storms were in New York. With one storm in particular, I got 10 inches. This was in December of 2009. My area got about 16 inches of snow in Boston, while I was in New York and only got 9 inches. 7-inch difference from that storm. Then, even crazier, I was in Boston, where New York City got 3 back-to-back snowstorms. Remember Snowmageddon? The first one, New York City got about 4 inches of snow. You know, so I felt like, okay, I lost out of 4 inches, not too bad. Then the second storm hit. New York City got a couple more inches. I missed out on that. And then the third storm, this is the crazy part. This is early March. This is late February, early March, 2010. This is called a snowy Canal. That storm, New York City got almost 2 feet of snow. 21 inches. Yeah, 21 inches. And you know how much Boston got? Zilch. Nada. Nothing. Not a flake. All the snow happened in New York. You know what happened? The storm made a left-hand hook just like Sandy, and all the snow happened in New York. In New York City, got all snow. Boston got all rain, because we were in the right foot quadrant of the storm where all the warm air came in. I mean, that year I was extremely sour and pessimistic. Extremely. Like, I was in constant bad mood. I had the worst teacher that year. Everything was just going my way. I'm not going my way. Everything was going just exactly the way I did not want it to go. Oh yeah, and later that year a tornado hit my neighborhood when I was in Boston to top that all off. So yeah, year ended on a pretty bad note. Well, it didn't end, but on a bad note. But that winter, I guess it kind of made it up because New York City, Boston all got big snowstorms, and I was there to see all of them. But everybody had basically the same amount of snow. Boston, New York. So I still felt better, but I still couldn't get over the previous year, over when all the storms hit. Oh, and forget about 2014, 2015. I was even worse that year. So that winter, I missed out about, New York City got about 65 inches. Boston got about 60-something. I got about 30. So for each, that year, I actually missed out on 30 inches. So this year is just another repeat of that. Boston gets all the snow. New York City gets nothing. I was always jealous that Boston got more. I'm like, oh, I want to live in Boston because Boston will have more snow. And then when I came down to see my family over vacation, all the storms happened in Boston. Then when I went to Boston, all the storms happened in New York. It was crazy. Maybe I was being punished for how negative I was. Because that particular winter, I was extremely negative and pessimistic over everything. Nothing was going my way. And as I said, my teacher was being a total jackass to me. So, I was really pessimistic about that whole year. And I was predicting all the storms to miss me. I actually was expecting that very scenario. I actually said, I bet when I go to Boston, New York, all the storms will happen in Boston. When I go to Boston, all the snow will happen in New York. I actually said to my mom that very thing will happen. She said, no, Arthur, don't be so negative. That's not going to happen. And you know what? It did. And my mom was like, she said, imbatarsh. It's a Bulgarian word, which means serves you right. That's what you get. She said, that's what you get for being so negative. Serves you right. That's what you get. So instead of feeling sorry for me, I was like, oh, I'm sorry that happened to you. She actually said I deserved it. Unbelievable. That was the worst part. Saying that I deserved it. I was feeling so miserable, and instead of feeling sorry for me, or at least, giving me some condolences, she actually said I deserved it because I was so negative. I know I'm talking about my life a little bit, but I'm just trying to talk about the weather. How unlucky I am with the weather. I've always been unlucky with the weather. I mean, heck, I missed a tornado when I was in Boston, that same year, later that year. I mean, how much more unluckier can I get? In terms of missing weather. And now, a big storm is going to happen in Boston. I'm missing it again. I bet New York City probably won't even get an inch tomorrow. Well, thanks for watching. Bye. My prediction for New York City, of course I have to be scientific about it, is 2 to 3 inches. 2 to 3 inches in Manhattan, about 1 to 2 inches in Manhattan, 2 to 3 inches in Queens, where my mom lives in Hollis Hills, maybe 3 to 4 because they're further east. Thank you for watching. Bye.